Hello everyone! Does reading tire you out, especially when you are required to read something that you are not interested in? Today we are going to discuss reading strategies. This might assist you find that interest in certain reading materials. But before anything else, let's have first our word of the day. Our word of the day is elusive. It means hard to find, capture, or isolate. For example, some old coins are elusive. They are hard to find. Coin collectors are willing to pay a huge amount just to buy one rare coin. Let's activate your prior knowledge through this question, because today we will also tackle something that is related to food. So ponder. When I buy something, do I check food labels? The title of our reading material is Understanding Calories, published in a material by Department of Education in 2016. Let's pause again, and before we continue, ponder on these questions. Why is there a need to understand calories, and what information do you expect to see in the text? A calorie, also known as kilocalorie, is a unit of energy. This unit represents the energy required to heat a kilogram of water on degrees Celsius. While people generally link the term calorie with food, it is a unit of measurement that can be applied to any substance possessing energy. For instance, there are 8,200 calories in a liter, about 1 quart of gasoline. Calories describe the potential energy in food to maintain bodily functions, grow or repair tissue, and perform mechanical work such as exercise. Food calories may take the form of fat, carbohydrates, or proteins. Once consumed, enzymes act on these nutrients through metabolic processes and break them into their respective categories of fatty acids, glucose, and amino acids. These molecules travel through the bloodstream to specific cells where they are absorbed for immediate use or sent on to the final stage of metabolism where they release their stored energy through the process of oxidation. The number of calories burned during an exercise depends on various factors, including body weight and the type of exercise. For example, an individual weighing 59 kilograms or about 130 pounds would expend roughly 500 calories per hour swimming or playing basketball. However, the same person would burn an estimated 200 calories walking or playing table tennis. In order to survive and maintain body weight, the average individual requires approximately 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day. Gaining or losing weight is a simple process. Add and subtract 7,700 calories over the course of time to gain or lose a kilogram. Nutrition has nothing to do with it. It is all about calories. Now let's move on to the reading strategies which could be applied in the material that was read earlier. Gary Gashgarian, a professor of English and teaches courses in science fiction and other types of fiction, describes critical reading as an active process of discovery. Simply put, reading is not just any passive activity where we expect our eyes to read in silence. As an active process, it requires interaction with the material that one reads. Here are examples of reading strategies that might prove useful in reading activities, may it be academic or creative in nature. We have previewing, setting a purpose for reading, activating prior knowledge, making predictions, visualizing, identifying main idea and details, asking questions, adjusting reading speed, drawing conclusions, and reviewing and clarifying vocabulary. Previewing. Previewing is getting an idea about what the text is, and it allows us to read the first sentence of each paragraph. It also means paying attention to the text structures such as sidebars, photograph captions, text in bold or highlighted text, headings and subheadings, graphs, summaries, and other supporting text and graphics which are available. Looking at those gives a reader an idea of what the topic will be about. For example, in the text earlier, understanding calories, you will see that there are pictures, and in the title slide, there are certain food, which will make us think that perhaps this has something to do with food. The second strategy is setting a purpose for reading. Setting a purpose for reading helps you keep focus and engage while reading. Reading with a purpose also motivates us and helps us who tend to rush take our time so that we won't be able to skip certain important elements or ideas. So think that if your goal is to be informed or be entertained or be persuaded, for example, you were asked to read a certain text titled Understanding Calories in class. Most probably then, the purpose is for you to understand how calorie works. Other times, you will be asked to read something in order to answer a certain assignment. The third one is activating prior knowledge, using your knowledge and previous personal experiences to create meaning in what you read. If you have a very little prior knowledge about a certain topic, for example, calories, you may consider doing some background reading on the topic. For example, you were asked to read about the history of kites. Most probably, you were not born yet during the time. Hence, you may activate your prior knowledge by asking yourself questions that help you remember facts and related ideas. The fourth one is making predictions. It is letting you guess what happens next in the text or in a story that you are reading. So making predictions helps you become a more active reader. Making predictions is usually based on your schema. When we say schema, it's just like what we already know about certain things, the world. For example, if you are reading fiction, certain parts of the story will definitely require you to make predictions on what will happen next. Number 5 is visualizing. This allows us to create an image of something in our minds. So we need to pay attention to adjectives that describe color, shapes, feelings, and even sounds. It makes us think about what you hear when you read it, what you feel, what you taste, and what you see. So you need to keep on imagining if you feel like you do not imagine the situation correctly. So making use of imagination will augment your comprehension of text, especially if there are no images or pictures. Number 6 is identifying main ideas and details. The main idea is the big point, or the most important idea that the writer is communicating to the reader. Supporting details prove the value of main idea. So information that does not support in the main idea should not be in the same paragraph. It is important to identify main idea from the details, and sometimes the main idea may be implied or not directly stated. Hence, you must be able to identify it based on the details or examples given in the text. The next one is asking questions. Good readers ask questions when they read. Asking questions, it could be about how essential the certain activity or task you're reading is, and how the events relate to one another. It might be done also in your mind, or you could say it aloud for you to better analyze and comprehend the text. For example, a certain character acts differently in the story you are reading. So you might start by asking yourself and eventually find answers, as this is a form of checking your understanding too. And number 8, adjusting reading speed. It is also important that our reading rate should vary according to your reading purpose. So, have you heard of the saying, it's okay to pause for a while? It's similar and it could also be applied when you read. The nature and difficulty of the material also calls for adjustments in rate, level of difficulty, because it depends on the particular reader's knowledge. So if you are reading to someone younger, you might want to check the difficulty level and adjust the reading speed. Next one is drawing conclusions. It's using information that is implied or inferred to make meaning out of it what is not clearly stated. So writers, especially in stories, if there are many chapters or scenarios, they give us hints or clues that help us read between the lines. Because not everything will be explicitly stated or directly stated all the time. So out of the given details or examples, you may be able to draw conclusions and solve a certain problem or mystery in the given material. And lastly, reviewing and clarifying vocabulary. We need to list down unfamiliar words that we encounter in the text. The more vocabulary words that we know, better comprehension follows. A rich vocabulary also improves our ability to communicate through the different macro skills such as speaking, listening, reading, and even writing. And reading comprehension depends upon the meaning readers give words. And again, to sum up, here are the 10 important reading strategies. Try to apply them when you are reading something, and perhaps it will boost your critical thinking too. Now let's move on to summarizing. After applying the reading strategies to the text, you might be asked to provide the gist or the overall thought of the text, in which case you will be asked to make a summary or to summarize something. Summarizing is used to determine essential ideas, gist, main idea, useful information, keywords, and phrases. According to Buckley in 2004, in her popular writing text Fit to Print, she defines summarizing as reducing text to one-third or one-quarter of its original size, clearly articulating the author's meaning and retaining main ideas. Then, if there are, let's say, 3 paragraphs, assuming that the number of words are similar in each paragraph, the summary would be 1 paragraph long, which is one-third of the original one. Another definition of summarizing, according to Diana Hacker in 2008, she states that summarizing involves stating a work's thesis and main ideas simply, briefly, and accurately. Now one might ask, what is not summarizing? So this is not what constitutes summarizing according to Barrett and Sipasha in 2016. First, you are not summarizing when you write down everything. Obviously, because we are making a summary, we should not write down everything. The next one is, you are not summarizing when you write down ideas from the text word for word. So do not copy a single sentence verbatimly out of the text. We need to paraphrase it. However, there are just some phrases or technical words that cannot be paraphrased or changed. Then, leave them as it is. If you must copy a phrase, be sure to enclose them in quotation marks, especially if it is not your own. The next one, you are not summarizing when you write down incoherent and relevant ideas. Another, you are not summarizing when you write down ideas that are not in the text. Since we are trimming down the original text, we are not allowed to add our own ideas. Although we use our own words to express, or through paraphrasing, try not to add comments, interpretations, which are not really related or relevant to our text. Next one. The last one, you are not summarizing when you write down a summary that has the same length or is longer. Again, obviously, because we are summarizing, we are trying to trim down something or shorten it. Now, one important trick in summarizing is to annotate or annotation. To annotate means to add notes to a text or diagram, giving explanation or comment. You can also make use of underlines or highlighting certain words to aid your comprehension or understanding of the text. Look at this slide. This is an example of an annotated text. As you can see, there are underlines, highlights, circles around there, and even phrases are added, the comments beside the text, to allow the reader to engage with the text. It also promotes critical thinking. Now, this is an example of the summary of the text read earlier. Notice that only the essential ideas or gist are included and expressed in own words without adding information irrelevant or not included in the text. Take note also of the underlined word. You see there, a material published by the Department of Education. When we write a summary, especially if it is not our own, we need to state our source. So we have there our source. Take note also of the boxed word. The word informs. So it introduces the ideas that follows after our source or citation. So the one in box or in the box, the word inform, it is called a reporting verb. Now here are examples of reporting verbs. We have exclaimed, advised, commented, and the list goes on. So again, a reporting verb is a word which is used to convey or report on other writers' work. We have a lot of examples, and you usually see this in researches when we are trying to cite other people's work or sources. Okay, so in a nutshell, summarizing is getting the essential ideas in a reading material, and when you summarize, do not include irrelevant ideas, comments, or interpretations. And lastly, you need to include your source when you report a summary, especially if the ideas are not your own.